Hello everybody, welcome back to 366 Days of Hope. My name is Pearl and I'm here to share our next video, which is I triggered so many people due to this video right here. I had no idea that in some of the comments that I read on here that people were really not understanding the message that I was trying to present. And I had mentioned in my video that I wasn't talking about, abusive relationships. But so I wanted to clarify and address some of the comments that were in the description below. So it said, if your spouse is cheating and you talk about their cheating to someone else, then that's their fault. To say it's the person who is being cheated on fault is a double punishment. That's diabolical. For one, I never mentioned anything about a person cheating in the previous video that I was referring to when I said doing this one thing could ruin your relationship. What I was referring to is sitting there and talking about your spouse who has maybe certain habits or maybe differences than you, and you're literally lampooning them in front of their family. Maybe you're just sitting there talking about, oh gosh, yeah, my husband does this and my husband does that, or my wife does this and my wife does that. And these are genuinely good spouses that you have, but maybe certain of their characteristics bother you. I was never talking about cheating. One thing, if your spouse cheats on you, yeah, it is still your private problem and it should only be shared with certain people, maybe to kind of maybe ask wisdom or get counseling or leave. That is your choice. But to sit there and bash the person who cheated on you actually makes you look bad. I have been in contact with people who have had their spouse cheat on them. And what made me respect that person is the fact that they never, even to that point where they could have bashed that person, said all kinds of things, threw out their dirty laundry, they never did that. And when that person had that sort of respect for the other person to not do that, it gave me more respect to the person who wasn't willing to air all their laundry out and to try and sabotage another person out of revenge. It showed class. And that is what I'm talking about. And if you have a spouse who cheated, you can acknowledge that they sinned. Sure, absolutely. You can sit there and say, you know what? My spouse, cheated on me. That's why we're not together. Absolutely. Or, they committed adultery. That's why we're not together. But don't sit there and like laundry list out all of the details only to sit there and cause you to get riled up again. But the original message had nothing to do with that. My original message was talking about a spouse who is genuinely a great person, but they might have things that just irritate you. You shouldn't sit there and throw all of the things that irritate you onto other people, because then all these little things are going to become things that are going to bother you so much so you notice them more because of what you're focusing on. So I wanted to address this next point, and I'm putting it here, but basically this person was like, and you had to learn this. Everyone should know this automatically. The fact that there was some sort of revelation to you is just plain scary. So I wanted to say that even though I grew up in the US, I still grew up with a very different upbringing, because I came from a family that was mixed and also had different ways of handling certain situations. And so therefore the examples that I had, the parents that I had didn't actually give me a good example of how to have a healthy relationship. So yeah, I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and so therefore I adopted dysfunctional behavior that then I had to unlearn. So to sit here and say that, oh, you should have already learned this is scary that you didn't already know this. If you look around, there are so many families that are broken, and there are so many people that have to unlearn behavior. That's why psychology exists. That's why all of these counselors exist, because of so many people who are growing up in these family structures that are unhealthy, and we're trying to break those things. The fact that I am trying to open people up to recognize that this is a bad behavior of what not to do is because I saw it growing up, where I had a parent who talked trash about their spouse in front of everybody or behind their back. And I saw both sides, and I could see that wasn't healthy for the marriage or the relationship because it created bitterness. And that's something that I didn't want in my own relationship. So yeah, maybe I did learn that, but me sharing it does not sit here and mean that, oh, I'm so ignorant that it took me so long to learn it. No, it's not that took so long to learn it. It's that that's something I ended up learning when I was young, but I was able to verbalize it more as an adult, because when I was young, I didn't have a voice. I wasn't allowed to have a voice. And so therefore, having that kind of upbringing definitely does affect how you are going to learn certain common sense things that may be automatic to certain family dynamics where they're not in other family dynamics. So with the point of my first video that I mentioned right here, one thing that can destroy or ruin your relationship, it was all about a relationship where two people are coming in from two different cultures, maybe two different backgrounds, and they may have certain tendencies that could be affecting or could end up hurting their relationship, and they just don't know it. These are things that I think are worth sharing, and this is all that I was trying to do. So the third point is, should women who are in an abusive relationship stay quiet so as not to ruin their reputation? No, this is a crap message. When I read this, I was thinking to myself, I don't think ever in any point in my original video that I shared that I ever said that I was talking about an abusive relationship. I was actually talking about a fairly good intentioned relationship where both people had the best interests of the other person, but maybe they might have certain habits that they adopted, like I did growing up because of what I saw, thinking that certain things might be normal or appropriate when they're not. And so trying to bring light to that and saying, no, actually, these things will harm a relationship. So if you're in an abusive relationship, leave. Like that, 1000% leave if you're in an abusive relationship, because from what I understand, especially when it comes to women who are being abused, about 80% of the women who stay end up in a worse off situation where they end up being dead. So, or their kids end up being harmed in the process. So no, I do not sit here and say that women should not address and or acknowledge the abuse. If anything, majority of the women who are abused stay in abusive relationships because they have so much fear and because they're too afraid of coming out. What I'm saying is, I'm talking about, again, like I've reiterated already, more of people just talking trash about their spouse to their family over the tiniest little things that don't have a huge bearing on the relationship as a whole, right? So we want to try and identify those things. If you are in an abusive relationship, please seek help. I think the worst thing that you can probably do is you might end up bashing that person and saying it to the wrong person who might not believe you, and then end up in a worse situation. Go to an authority figure instead, like a police officer, a counselor or something, to be able to help you get help, and be able to move the needle in the proper direction to help you get out of it. And of course, the last one, which basically said this is a bad message. And a video prior to that, I was talking about relationships. And again, I had mentioned I'm talking about well-intentioned people, and if people were following me through my 366 days of hope, it is talking about hopefulness and relationships and good relationships and how to grow in those relationships. So clearly I am not talking about manipulative narcissistic relationships or anything like that. So if it triggered you, I'm I do not apologize for that, because I think that's something that says more about you than it is of me, because my message is often just me trying to help people grow, because I'm growing in my relationship, because I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and me trying to grow in the way that God is healing me, and me trying to help other people to heal through sharing the knowledge and wisdom that I feel like he's shared with me over the many years of being married and being in a relationship. So, with that said, guys, I hope that you all have a better clarity of what my intentions were. But more than that, I hope you work on yourself and work on understanding maybe where your hurt and your pain is, and not to sit there and feel like you need to talk badly about the people that have hurt you. You can acknowledge that they have hurt you. Yeah, if you need to relive it to heal, I mean, that's on you, but the reality is once it's in the past, you can try and move forward. Like what I'm saying right now is something I'm having to remind myself, because sometimes my mind wants to go back and rehash past wounds and rip the scab right off until I'm bleeding again. The thing is, we have to just remind ourselves to stop picking at our wounds and try to move forward. And this is what I'm looking forward to in 2025. And I hope that you guys join me as I continue moving forward as a personal trainer and helping people live, thrive, and be healthy. Well, guys, take care. Bye.